Kurdistan. The Kurdistan region, Iraqi Kurdistan. Kurdistan is an autonomous region in northern Iraq comprising the four Kurdish majority governorates of Dohuk, Erbil, Halabja and Sulaymaniyah and bordering Iran, Syria and Turkey. The Kurdistan region encompasses most of Iraqi Kurdistan but excludes the disputed territories of northern Iraq, contested between the Kurdistan regional government and the central Iraqi government in Baghdad since southern Kurdish autonomy was realized in 1992 in the aftermath of the Gulf War. The Kurdistan region parliament is situated in Erbil, but the constitution of the Kurdistan region declares the disputed city of Kirkuk to be the capital of the Kurdistan region. When the Iraqi army withdrew from most of the disputed areas in mid-2014 because of the ISIL offensive in northern Iraq, Kurdish Peshmarga entered the areas and held control there until they surrendered the city to Iraqi government forces in October 2017. Before Iraq became an independent state in 1923, the Iraqi Kurds had already begun their independence struggle from the British Mandatory Iraq with the Mahmud Barzanji revolts, which was subsequently crushed by the United Kingdom after a bombing campaign against Kurdish civilians by the Royal Air Force. Nonetheless, the Kurdish struggle persisted and the Barzani tribe had by the early 1920s gained momentum for the Kurdish nationalist cause and would become pivotal in the Kurdish-Iraqi wars throughout the 20th century. In 1943, the Barzani chief Mustafa Barzani began raiding Iraqi police stations in Kurdistan, which led the Baghdad government to deploy 30,000 troops to the region. The Iraqi Kurdish leadership fled to Iran in 1945. There, Mustafa Barzani founded the Kurdistan Democratic Party, and Iran and the Soviet Union began assisting the Kurdish rebels with arms. Israel began assisting the Kurdish rebels in the early 1960s. From 1961 to 1970, the Kurds fought the Iraqi government in the First Iraqi Kurdish War, which resulted in the Iraqi Kurdish Autonomy Agreement. But simultaneously with its promise of Kurdish autonomy, the Iraqi government began ethnic cleansing Kurdish populated areas to reduce the size of the autonomous entity which a census would determine. This mistrust provoked the Second Iraqi Kurdish War between 1974 and 1975, which resulted in a serious defeat for the Iraqi Kurds, see Algiers Accord, and forced all of the rebels to flee once more to Iran. The more left-leaning Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, PUK, was founded in 1975 by Jalal Talabani and regenerated the Kurdish insurgency with guerrilla warfare tactics as the Kurdistan Democratic Party, KDP, was slowly recovering from their defeat. However, the Kurdish insurgency became entangled in the Iran-Iraq War from 1980 onwards. During the first years of the war in the early 1980s, the Iraqi government tried to accommodate the Kurds in order to focus on the war against Iran. In 1983, the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan agreed to cooperate with Baghdad, but the Kurdistan Democratic Party remained opposed. In 1983, Saddam Hussein signed an autonomy agreement with Jalal Talabani of the PUK, though Saddam later reneged on the agreement. In the period leading up to the Islamic State invasion of Iraq in June 2014, the Iraqi-Kurdish relations were in a decline that the war against the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIS, Islamic State only worsened when Iraqi forces withdrew from the Syrian-Iraqi border and away from the disputed areas. The Kurdistan region consequently had a 1,000-kilometer front with Islamic State, which put the region into an economic stalemate. However, Kurdistan did not compromise on their stance regarding financial independence from Baghdad. Due to the Iraqi withdrawal, Kurdish Peshmerga took control of most disputed areas, including Kirkuk, Kanakin, Jalala, Bashika, Sinjar and Makma. The strategically important Mosul Dam was also captured by Kurdish forces. However, the control was only temporary as Iraqi forces retook control over most of the disputed areas in October 2017. After the 2017 Kurdistan region independence referendum, as of 2019, the Kurdistan region and the federal government in Baghdad are negotiating joint control over the disputed areas as their relations have become more cordial in the aftermath of ISIL's defeat. The Kurdistan region is a democratic parliamentary republic and has a presidential system wherein the president is elected by parliament for a 4-year term. In case of extensions of parliament's term, the president's term is also automatically extended. The current president is Nachirvan Barzani, who assumed office on the 1st of June 2019. The Kurdistan parliament has 111 seats and are held every 5th year. The Committee for Implementing Article 140 defines the disputed territories as those areas Arabized whose border modified between the 17th of July 1968 and the 9th of April 2003. Those areas include parts of 4 governorates of pre-1968 borders. Disputed internal Kurdish-Iraqi boundaries have been a core concern for Arabs and Kurds, especially since US invasion and political restructuring in 2003. Kurds gained territory to the south of Iraqi Kurdistan after the US-led invasion in 2003 to regain what land they considered historically theirs. Despite being landlocked, the Kurdistan region pursues a proactive foreign policy, which includes strengthening diplomatic relations with Iran, Russia, United States and Turkey. 29 countries have a diplomatic presence in the Kurdistan region, while the Kurdistan region has representative offices in 14 countries. The Kurdistan region has the lowest poverty rates in Iraq, and the stronger economy of the Kurdistan region attracted around 20,000 workers from other parts of Iraq between 2003 and 2005. The number of millionaires in the city of Sulaymaniyah grew from 12 to 2,000 in 2003, reflecting the economic growth according to some estimates. The debt of the Kurdish government reached $18 billion by January 2016. The economy of Kurdistan is dominated by the oil industry, however. Kurdish officials have since the late 2010s attempted to diversify the economy to mitigate a new economic crisis like the one which hit the region during the fight against ISIL. Major oil export partners include Israel, Italy, France and Greece. KRG-controlled parts of Iraqi Kurdistan contain 4 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. However, the KRG has estimated that the region contains around 45 billion barrels, 7.2109 m3, of unproven oil resource. Extraction of these reserves began in 2007. In November 2011, Exxon challenged the Iraqi central government's authority with the signing of oil and gas contracts for exploration rights to 6 parcels of land in Kurdistan, including 1 contract in the disputed territories, just east of the Kirkuk megafield. This act caused Baghdad to threaten to revoke Exxon's contract in its southern fields, most notably the West Quirana Phase 1 project. Exxon responded by announcing its intention to leave the West Quirana project. As of July 2007, the Kurdish government solicited foreign companies to invest in 40 new oil sites, with the hope of increasing regional oil production over the following 5 years by a factor of 5 to about 1 million barrels per day, 160,000 m3/d. Notable companies active in Kurdistan include Exxon, Total, Chevron, Talisman Energy, DNO, MOL Group, Genel Energy, Hunt Oil, Gulf Keystone Petroleum, and Marathon Oil. Other mineral resources that exist in significant quantities in the region include coal, copper, gold, iron, limestone, which is used to produce cement, marble, and zinc. The world's largest deposit of rock sulfur is located just southwest of Erbil. In July 2012, Turkey and the Kurdistan regional government signed an agreement by which Turkey will supply the KRG with refined petroleum products in exchange for crude oil. Crude deliveries are expected to occur on a regular basis. Widespread economic activity between Kurdistan and Turkey has given the opportunity for Kurds of Turkey to seek jobs in Kurdistan. A Kurdish newspaper based in the Kurdish capital estimates that around 50,000 Kurds from Turkey are now living in Kurdistan. The Kurdistan region is hosting 1.2 million displaced Iraqis who have been displaced by the ISIS war. As of early December 2017, there were about 335,000 in the area prior to 2014, with the rest arriving in 2014 as a result of unrest in Syria and attacks by the Islamic State. Before the establishment of the Kurdistan regional government, primary and secondary education was almost entirely taught in Arabic. Higher education was always taught in Arabic. This, however, changed with the establishment of the Kurdistan Autonomous Region. The first international school, The International School of Chawifat opened its branch in Kurdistan region in 2006. Other international schools have opened and British International Schools in Kurdistan is the latest with a planned opening in Suleimania in September 2011. Kurdistan region's official universities are listed below, followed by their English acronym, if commonly used, internet domain, establishment date and latest data about the number of students.
Subscribe my channel and like videos and share the videos.